I'm Bobby Hune, and let's queer up gay culture. Dating app data shows Heteroflexible emerges as fastest growing sexuality of 2025. New data from Field, a dating app for curious and open-minded individuals, shows that Heteroflexible was the fastest growing sexuality of 2025. The app reports that heteroflexible identification grew by 193% over the past year. Millennials made up nearly 2/3 of heteroflexible members, accounting for 65% of the total. Gen Z follows at 18%, with another 15.5% attributed to Gen X growth. Field also found that switching between identifying as straight and heteroflexible is one of the most common sexuality shifts on the app. Heteroflexible typically describes someone who is primarily attracted to a different gender, but is also open to same-gender attraction or experiences. It's often understood as a form of sexual fluidity and sometimes discussed as a subcategory of bisexuality. Dr. Luke Brunning, lecturer in applied ethics at the University of Leeds, said, quote, "For some, heteroflexible will describe accurately how they experience attraction or typically behave. For others, it might be more of a promise to self, something they want to look into further, explore, or which they hope they will be in a position to experience in the future," end quote. He also cautioned that heteroflexibility can be viewed negatively. And I'm going to launch right after Dr. Brunning and say that I am not... While I get it, that it's basically straight people experimenting. That's what we're calling it now, heteroflexibility. So basically, if you're with a couple of frat bros and you do the bro job, like that's heteroflexibility now.
I think it's more than that, because most people are familiar with the Kinsey scale. If they're not, look it up. I've had neighbors that I've become friends with. They were heterosexual, but throughout getting to know them, there was an attraction between us. It wasn't necessarily sexual. There was something there that the straight guy was like, you're the first guy that da 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 da. So everybody on the planet experiences that to some degree. The fact that we have to label it, I think, is stupid.
Can I just talk about how, Rex, that was the best flex of how you can recruit men of any sexuality. I love it.
Kudos to Rex.
Absolutely.
Look,
the seducer of straight men.
The Kinsey scale, most people do not land at 0 or 6. They're at 1 to 5. So even if you have anybody at this table has ever looked at a woman and said, wow, she is beautiful, and there's just something about her, okay, then you're not a pure gay man, according to Kinsey. So this heteroflexibility thing, to me, just is, again, us putting a label on something because we have to, but it's a normal part of life. You're talking about bro jobs, we're talking about gay men, we're talking about the gay man who was once married to a woman and had no problem with having sex with a woman, but decided he wanted to have sex with men more, or vice versa. We all have some sort of fluidity within our life.
And it also concerns me that, this kind of labels the new heteroflexible. This is not new. There used to be a site literally called heteroflexible.com. Don't ask me how I know. No. But,
wrong flexibility.
But it's, the thing about it is that, is that like the transitional step of like peeking out of the closet door, or are we talking?
I would say no. So this is like my biggest disagreement with how heteroflexible was portrayed. Because one, I do think there is nothing gay about two guys touching each other who are both straight. I mean that in both like a fun way, like hi boys, but also in like a it's perfectly fine for two guys to still be straight after touching each other. But like when they said heteroflexibility was a subcategory of bisexual, I'm like, I think the subcategory of straight, and the reason why is if you're heteroflexible, if that's your, aka you're probably in some form of a heteronormative situation. If shit hits the fan in this country, as we were discussing in another piece about what, you're magically going to be straight again, and you're going to be completely safe. So that's like there's a serious issue of like, one, it's perfectly fine. Boys touch each other, have fun. You know, if you're hot and over 18, you know, call me, call Rex the parent, like, you know. But like, remember that like you're not like you're not queer, and like not to like sort of try and take our turf.
I mean, for you know.
Right. Well, no, because down low is
a very specific.
It depends on how they're using the term.
Agreed, because down low typically is, you know, they tend to lean more towards being queer than straight. They just leave a very heteronormative life publicly, and privately they, you know, and I think that's the bigger issue, is that we really do need to start talking about sex and sexuality and gender. They're all so very separate. You know, having, and this is, you know, science, it's, you know, having male on male sex happens throughout animal kingdom, and we are animals, you know, biologically. So that doesn't make those animals gay. You know, having the relationships, the feelings, the emotional ties, that's what makes you gay. So like you said, I mean, how many boys when they're coming out of puberty go, oh, what's that? You know, it is normal. And so, I mean, if this helps normatize that, I guess I'm for it. But to me, it's just another person to wave another flag at Pride Parade that we don't need.
Wait, can we talk about that? Who made the heteroflexible flag, and why does it look like the tester when you test a print?
Oh, yeah.
When you use the old printers, when you need to print something, the different colors. Like, what happened, kids? How did that happen?
Well, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.